Welcome to Jules FM, and thanks for joining me for part 2 of my conversation with Matt Nunn, a man who has grown his company, Nunn Media, from scratch to being the #1 independent advertising agency in Australia. In this episode, Matt talks about how important mentorship has been in his journey and the attributes he believes have helped him achieve his goals. We pick up here talking about what skill he thinks is more important in terms of growth. In terms of basketball and business, what do you think is more important, skill or mindset?
Well, both. And talent. You can put talent in there as well. I know a lot of kids or players that are extremely talented but don't have the right mindset or the right application. Whereas I've seen probably more kids that probably don't have the skill or the talent, who really want it, who really have that mindset to succeed, that do succeed to a certain level. But it definitely is a strong combination of both. Without skill, and you have the right mindset, you probably don't make the team. With a high level of skill and talent, you probably make the team, but you don't live up to your potential.
So if you were employing for your business, is it one of those that you prioritize? Is there something you look for, an attribute that you look for in someone? Or even, I guess in coaching as well, but particularly in business, is there some sort of attribute you look for in a candidate?
Well, this is a little... I'm not in charge of that. They kicked me out of there.
When you were? What about when you were?
But I used to love employing country people where I'm from, because I think their values and standards and upbringing is a lot different, potentially, not than all people in the metro areas, but it definitely has a humble sort of beginning and a grounding to it. So in business, definitely, and as far as employees, skill and talent or knowledge can be learnt, so you can teach that, but you can't teach people some of the other things of showing up on time and being respectful and talking the right way to people and those type of things. So they're probably things that I like. I like good people, and if you're not a good person, life's too short to be involved with people that aren't good people.
Yeah, very true. So tell me, because you started this business from scratch, this is your baby, and you've built it into something that's so hugely successful. What is the secret to building something and scaling it to such a huge level?
It's obviously a lot of things. From a planning point of view, I never would have thought when I started the business that I would be perhaps or grow it to where it is right now. But I think it goes back to those things, probably from a sporting standpoint, resilience. I think I'm very stubborn and resilient. So if I fail, it probably makes me more motivated to want to succeed. I've learnt from that, and I don't like to lose, and it eats at me. If I want to do something or things, or if I haven't succeeded in something, I won't sleep. So I will literally, through my head, come up with ways of how I can put myself in a better position, or how I can succeed or win or whatever it is. So that's probably one out of about 20 different things. I think also you've got to be a people person as well. I feel like people, work better, respond better when people around them are good to them. So with staff, and what have you, I think it's important to have guidelines and culture and rules and what have you, whether it's in business or in sport. But at the end of the day, you've got to be a good person, and you've got to be, I guess, motivated enough to be walking forward.
A lot of previous guests have mentioned the importance of mentors, and I know you mentioned Tony Gandel. Was he a mentor to you, or how important were mentors?
Yeah, 100%. And that's another thing, when you own a business, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're trying to grow and build a business, it's actually a lonely world, because a lot of people don't understand. It's a different mentality, and you don't want to talk to your competitors if you're in that field. So it's very lonely. So a lot of decision making you make is probably by yourself. So, from a mentor standpoint with Tony, it was really good because when he came into the business, like I felt like I had a big brother behind me, and he gave me a lot of confidence to think, well, you could be this and you could be that, and why wouldn't you be able to have 100 employees or 200 employees or $100 million worth of billings or 500. So he gave me that sort of confidence to think, well, you know what, that's right, well, why can't I do that? And I think from a mentoring standpoint, that probably really gave me the edge that, perhaps I can do it. And then confidence, things happen and you build, and you learn and you get better at things. So mentoring definitely, I think, is a very important part of it.
When you first started out, or even when you first got into basketball or then started your own business, did you set goals for yourself of where you wanted to go?
I did loosely, but nobody taught me how to do that. I think I'm very driven. So I remember when I had my first job, I had a goal, I wanted to make $100,000. That was my first goal. And then I wanted to make $1 million. And then so it sort of, I guess, progressed in my mind, but then I got probably smarter at business planning and then sort of set goals for the business and KPIs that lathered underneath that and metrics that sort of funneled in there. So I think that system and process, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, loosely speaking, probably don't have that system. They've got the ideas and the drive, but they don't have the system and the process. And that was probably me. And I think I got better at that as time went on. I think, now it's sort of just a way of life to map things out, whether it's for a basketball team or a business, what you're trying to achieve and what that means to the team and how do I bring the team along and what KPIs will I need to fulfill to get there. So I think that's just a way of life now.
What's one habit or mindset shift that's been an absolute game changer for you?
Interesting. I think, I used to listen to a guy who was he was in prison for 10 years or 15 years or something like that. And he basically went in there as a drug dealer and came out of there sort of as a mindset guy. And basically what I took from it was self-reflection. And he's very crude in his language and what have you, but literally, pardon the French, don't be weak. Look at you're making excuses for yourself. Reflect that you're not good enough, accept that, and what are you going to do about it? Instead of sort of whining and whinging about, why you haven't got this or why you haven't done that or why you didn't win or why you didn't. So it's basically to take the responsibility and the action to yourself.
Yeah, I like that. I know you're a fairly disciplined individual. Can you share your daily routine, what that looks like from getting up in the morning and how you see that contributes to your effectiveness?
Well, I don't know whether it contributes to my effectiveness, but it wears me out.
Sure it does.
I'm an early riser, so I get up about 4:30 and generally I'll walk for about an hour and a half. And then I have the personal trainer come over and I lift for an hour, 6 days a week. And then I have a cryotherapy before I lift, then I lift, and then I have a sauna. So I kind of, the longevity, is interesting to me. I'm not fanatical necessarily about it as some other people that we both know, but definitely follow a regime. And I've got a hyperbaric chamber as well that I'm starting in the next week or so. So yeah.
Curious. I'm curious about the hyperbaric. I've never tried it, so I'm like,
yeah. Well,
it's amazing.
I read a lot of the research papers, and when I get to the the conclusions of the findings, I sort of weigh up what I do. So I kind of loosely base it on that.
And you don't think that adds to how Like how effective you are in the office or anything?
Listen, I'm not sure about that, but I think just from a personal point of view, for me, it's kind of like the calm before the storm.
Yeah. Okay.
Like for me to, and the reason I walk at 4:30 is because I don't see anybody, I don't hear anybody. It's just me and the dog, and it's pitch black. So for me, it's probably more like a mental sanctuary for just to get clarity of everything that's happening in my life. So it's kind of, I would probably say it's my time. And I just literally will walk for an hour and a half, and I forget that I'm walking a lot of the time. So,
Do you have a favourite saying or mantra that guides you or that you live by?
I'll probably, if you ask my staff, they'll probably say, yes, I've got a lot. What do I say? Well, the one thing is I hate excuses. So, I always, probably they would say, so if we can put man on the moon, we can do whatever it is, the task. So, I think, people are too easy to make, and I think excuses are a weakness. It shows the weakness of the mind. So I try not to let that in on anything. So, and the thing is, if you put your mind to it, you can pretty much do anything. And probably the only other one is, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. It's probably true in life as well.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given in sport or business?
You don't ask, you don't receive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, that and along with, I guess hard work pays off. And I think, once again, going back to sporting people, if they've had a life at a young age where they've understand the habits of hard work and progression and getting better, I think that there is kind of the best lesson in life. And that's where sport, I think, is a great mentor for people to understand what life is about.
How do you personally define success today, and how has that changed over time?
I think success for me is, I think from a business standpoint, there's a fire, and it's that competitiveness to want to win. So in everything that you do, in every little project, you feel that fire burning, and it's like, how can I do this? What do I need to do? Like the thinking through how I can sort of accomplish things, and then accomplishing it to me, is success. But then from a coaching standpoint, success to me is, and at Knox, is winning as well. But it's also the development of people off the court and on the court. And I think at Knox, I've been the only coach to play younger kids, give them opportunity, and they've all excelled. So we've probably sent at Knox what have we got, 5, 6, 7 or 8 junior players into the US college system. So, that to me, alongside winning in sport, it's just mentoring people or kids off the court and what have you is something that I get a lot of satisfaction from.
I spoke to Emma Murray recently, and she quoted Michael Jordan's coach and how he really taught Michael Jordan about mindfulness, and how he said that was more important than even the skills. If he could get him in the right headspace, then he would be able to achieve more than he could possibly teach him skill-wise. Do you embrace any of that? Do you teach mindfulness or that kind of mental training for your athletes or your employees?
I don't, but actually it's on my agenda this year. I mean, we're not a, high budget NBL team from that standpoint, but definitely what I see is that trying to maximize or trying to enable somebody to get be the best version of them. And I mean, Michael Jordan was also the best athlete in the world. So, even if he didn't have his mindset right, he was probably still the best player in the world. But I think confidence, is probably the biggest thing with kids and basketball players and in every sport. And you could have a player that is a really good player that's not playing confidently. So I think as a coach, it's your job to bring that out, and that requires a personal touch, depending on the person. So that's something that I do personally with players, because I know how important confidence is to them. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So what's one piece of advice you would give to young people these days wanting to get into business or start their own? Or it might even be something you tell your children.
I would say probably one of the biggest things is don't quit. When the going gets tough, all right, that's when the tough get going. And never quit. I mean, it's okay if you give it your best shot and it doesn't work out. Okay, it doesn't work out. But if you quit at something, I think that's a weakness, and therefore I go back to making excuses. Well, I couldn't do that because of this, and this. Whereas, perhaps you weren't good enough to do it. But what are you prepared to do to be better or get better? So that's probably the biggest thing is if you've got the drive for it, just don't quit. Just keep going. It'll eventually work out. It's a game of percentages. And today's younger generation, I don't think they're equipped for it. But if you are, I think, as a young entrepreneurs can make a lot of money, be successful very fast, because a lot of the next generation are not that way. They want to, give up early. They want to switch this and switch that, or this job doesn't work. I'm going to go to this job and this job, or this, team and this team. Versus actually reflecting in the mirror and saying, you know what, I'm just not good enough at the moment, and this is what I'm going to do to get better, and put the responsibility back on yourself. And I think that's probably, and it's okay not to be the best, but you want to be the best version of you. And excuses and coming up with reasons why you can't do it, I just do not correlate to that way of thinking at all. And I think if I could pass that on to anybody, that would probably be the message.
AI is here and it's coming, it's changing the landscape. What's that going to look like for your business? Are you reinventing to kind of...
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I enjoy is not being a Blockbuster and a Kodak, is that we're about 50% through a major tech development. We're appointed, I think it'll be the first in the industry, definitely from an Australian point of view, and probably the world, in that we're using AI. We're developing a system, database, a data-led solution for clients, which basically, in the Australian market, we have about 20 million profiles. We can, feed first-party data, so, campaign results, sales results, the weather, brand health tracking, all together, and then we can target people in different environments. We can find these people, but not only that, we can use that as predictive modelling and extract that through AI, that data. So it's pretty powerful to understand within a second, which is something that might take normally a week or 2 weeks or longer. Why are sales down? What are the best mediums to increase my sales by 10% over the next 12 months? Understanding the last 3 years' results, campaigns, creative, profiles, target audience, etc., etc. So we think it's going to be revolutionary in our industry. So we're probably about perhaps 3 or 4 months off. We should have a prototype up fairly soon. So yeah, we're really embracing it. And some of the tools that are available now, like there's a tool called Utari, UTARI, .ai, and it's not well publicized, but it's unbelievable.
What does it do?
Literally, well, it's an LLM, so it's like a chat GPT, except it's more agent mode, so it's more detailed in its responses. But interestingly, I prompted it on an example call funnel strategy the other day, and I mean the prompt was quite detailed, but it only took me probably 2 or 3 minutes, and it built literally everything that you could ever imagine, including the landing pages, the coding, the creative, the scripting, everything within about 3 or 4 minutes. Now that's something that people in the market might charge, particularly in the US market, $20,000 for. And I had it completed, done in minutes.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah. So I think if you're smart and you're young, like literally you can jump tall buildings right now as an entrepreneur.
Wow. Well, so it feels a little daunting, but at the same time, it could be so exciting. So I think you're right. I think it's embrace it all, stay fearful.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Who is someone you believe truly embodies success, like either through courage, creativity, or possibility, whatever it may be? And why do you think that? Why have you chosen them? Why do they inspire you?
It's an interesting question. Probably Muhammad Ali. Like he was courageous, but he had a lot of charisma as well. But he was very brave. I know that he forgo his world heavyweight title and wasn't allowed to box when he didn't go to Vietnam. So he was a man of his principles, whatever they were. And then also, obviously, the racism and the social injustice within his community and what have you. He was sort of a mentor to many people to stand up for what they believe in. So for me, he was the element of courage and resilience and charisma. For him, that's probably, the person that, to me, embodies courage.
Well, Matt, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. It's just been awesome to hear you speak and share your wisdom on building a business. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
No worries. Great to join you.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed part 2 of my conversation with Matt Nunn. If something in this episode resonated, feel free to share it with someone who might find it helpful right now. And if you haven't already, please hit follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss future episodes. You can also find the video version of this conversation on my YouTube channel, Jules FM Show. Until next time.